So Tom, good to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
Thanks for joining us. You have this amazing project at the moment connected to Firebird, which we'll talk about. For anyone who doesn't know what Firebird is, how would you explain it?
Well, it's the movie which has taken, I've personally been involved for 7 years.
Hmm.
Um, and it's a real story about a Russian actor who actually was a conscript on a Soviet Air Force base at the height of the Cold War. And he's about to finish his military conscription. And then he falls in love with a fighter pilot. And they basically do everything they can to be together. And it's a pretty intensive sort of romantic thriller for the two guys to be together, and it's all based on a true story.
And what's fascinating about the film is I tell me if I'm wrong, but I understand you were cast in it and then ended up writing it, working on the music, part funding it. How did all of that happen?
Yeah, I was approached to play the lead back in 2014 December. And Peter Rebane and I were introduced, and we got on very, very well. And I was captivated by the story, and he had already begun making progress on the screenplay.
Mm.
And then in July 2015, we shot a teaser to help raise the rest of the financing for the film, and I started making some suggestions on how we could improve the script a bit. And then that kind of really dug me into a hole where we literally rewrote together for about 2.5 years after that. We went to Russia to meet the real Sergey Fetisov. We met lots of different people who had served in the Soviet Union conscription. And that also led to me being one of the producers. We started finding the film financiers who kind of came through all kinds of curious different ways. And then I did the acting in the film in 2018, like the autumn of 2018, when the script was done and the rest of the cast was found. And the writing progress had been very rigorous. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm pretty much done here. And then I ended up getting pulled back into the edit and being a very integral part of the editing, and being in the editing team. And then at one point, Peter and I were literally editing the film ourselves. And then I ended up becoming the music supervisor because I found that I had this real. I was actually asked; they wanted me to find some music because they were struggling with temp music. And then I was just like, well, all right, I'll just wander around and listen to some music, and found the kind of moment where it clicks.
Yeah.
And and yeah, I mean, then long story short, we then had to found a distribution company to take Firebird out to the world. We had an amazing partner actually in the US, Roadside Attraction, and but for most territories of the world, we've actually done our own self distribution and created a company to do that.
That takes a lot of, I mean, it takes creativity, it's entrepreneurial skills, it's fearlessness. Like,
Either
where,
it's
where,
insanity or genius.
where, but where does that come from? Because to get so heavily invested, you must have had so much belief that this was all going to work.
Yeah, I mean, I I'm quite selective when it comes to stories as well. Like I really want to tell stories which make a difference in the world, and I I sort of feel at the moment that they're sort of few and far between to turn up. And occasionally they do turn up, and it's just like, okay, well then I kind of want to like run everything with it. And not that I'm comparing myself necessarily to Daniel Day-Lewis at this point, but I would rather take those years and do a project which I really believe in,
Yeah.
than just sort of be dotting all over the place with something that I'm kind of like, it's sort of work, and I'm not
Yeah.
really that fussed about it. So yeah, I'm very much a kind of all in sort of person when I find something to really run with. Don't get me wrong, it certainly hasn't had its huge challenges along the way. And there has been moments where I was sat in the cinema alone, bar Peter, the director and my co-writer, and our colorist and our cinematographer, just going like, are we completely insane? Like how much time and energy and input we put into this, and maybe everybody hates it, but it seems that it's done pretty nicely in terms of how people have responded to it.
Oh yeah, and I'll come on to the campaign in a second, but just to pick up on what you said about going all in. So you ended up moving or part moving to Estonia,
Yeah.
which is a country that I know very well, and it's a place where, without sounding too corny, for mindfulness, to get back to nature, it is. I don't think people quite understand what a beautiful place it is. So did
Mhm.
being there help with all of those pressures?
It it definitely did. I mean, in terms of people have asked me like, how have I measured success in what I've done? And actually, I'd say that I had a huge sort of personal transformation, like self-development transformation. And I think that, well, I'm sure actually that a lot of that has actually been to do with being there as well and meeting some very, very connected people, and people there really are very connected to the land. And it's still, they're very um in tune with the seasons and with this sort of natural environment. And that's a very wonderful contrast to London.
Yeah. Oh, big time, big time. And this campaign, which is sort of halfway through and it's already hugely successful, I can see. So tell us a bit about that and also why you're doing
Well, when we met Sergey Fetisov in Russia in 2016, we were getting to know him.
it.
He was very kind in, really allowing us to have as much creative license as we wanted, and didn't really have any stipulations. He just said, please make the story about love and not about politics. That was pretty much his only demand. Um, and we promised him that we would make the film and that we would release the book, because he released the book in Russia in Russian under a pseudonym in the early 90s. And at the time, it was still kind of forbidden, but it was probably the most liberal time there's been in LGBTQA plus rights in sort of the last decades for sure there.
Mm.
And yeah, then he passed away in 2017 and he never got to see the film. And we really wanted to fulfill our promise to him. And Peter and I felt that it was time just a few weeks back to publish the book as well. And the reason why we're actually having to run a Kickstarter campaign is because the film has been so heavily pirated around the world. And like a fan the other day sent me, I got a message request on Instagram, and he sent me a photo with him and the Blu-ray back in May, and we hadn't even started printing DVDs then. And it was like, so not only is the piracy really digital and it appears on like a Telegram group and it's like 3,000 members on there that somebody added me to just to show me.
Yeah.
It's also, everywhere. And there's that, and the pandemic has really changed people's behavior about paying to watch films, because we all have our subscription services, Amazon Prime, Disney, and Disney Plus being something like what it is incredible wealth of different types of films, and we just have become so unattuned to paying for content now that it's very difficult actually to tell half the time if it's legitimate or not, because it's also so high definition, such good quality. So that's really been like the massive issue that we've had. That, and also independent cinema has been really affected by the pandemic too. Everybody, including myself, goes and sees Marvel and goes and sees the big event-based films in cinema now, but people aren't really going to see independent film apart from maybe at a film festival. So there's been a number of different things, and so we have not honestly made anywhere near the money back to even the budget that it cost to make the film. So that's the reason why we've actually launched a Kickstarter. We want to fulfill our promise, which we promised to do, and we didn't want to sort of fall down at the last hurdle and go like, well, we didn't manage to make any money back yet, so we can't release the book. We want to release the book. We want to get into the hands of the people so they can really read the real words behind what we turned into the film, because there's loads of stuff that we couldn't put in the film.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's amazing to see someone so heavily invested in something. And I guess, you know, like you say, Sergey has passed and you're giving him a voice. And how do you feel about having that responsibility? That's quite a big thing.
I feel that it's a sorry, there's like hammering here or something. I feel like it's a great responsibility, but I also feel that it's a great honor to be able to leave somebody's legacy, and really to know how much the film has meant to so many people. I've had some really, really incredible messages from people from all over the world saying that, you know, this film has allowed them to accept themselves more, or to give more respect to the LGBTQA plus community, or kind of really just to know what it feels like to really feel in love and follow that at all costs. So it feels amazing to kind of continue this momentum, yet at the same time I'm a bit like, I do really want to shoot another film now. So I kind of don't want to abandon my responsibility to the project. I really want to just sort of like tie it up properly, and really let people read the book, and see where we got, what we turned into the film from, and hopefully people don't think that we did an awful job of the book.
And I guess, as you said, you know, you have spent years on this, and I suppose in a way, in a positive way, it gives some kind of closure, like you say, so you can move on and do something else. So do you have a good idea of what you want to do next?
Well, I know the kind of characters that I want to play, and I know the kind of jobs that I want to do. So either they come to me or I create them. That's really kind of like the way that I've sort of felt that I really want to kind of continue. And so, of course, like I would actually honestly love to shoot a Marvel film. I'd love to play the, you know, a younger version of James Bond. I would love to do like a remake of an Indiana Jones or something in that vein. So if that doesn't come to me, then I will create that, or I will create that to come to me as well. So there's all the possibilities, but it's stories about adventure and sort of action adventure as well, but also that are resting in very strong history as well, or lessons to learn, or messages for audiences to empower themselves more, to believe in themselves more, to, like with Firebird, to like follow love at all costs, because it really is worth it. It's projects like that and messages like that for me which really appeal, and I will continue to do that. And yeah, so they're gonna have to find me, or I'm gonna have to find them, because
quite a cool gig.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
It would be
like still like looking way too young. I'm probably not in the right casting category anymore. But...
Well, it'll take him a few years to get filming it, won't it?
Yeah.
So you'll be a bit older. That's so good. And so going back to the Kickstarter campaign, how do people get involved? Where do they have to go? And how much do they have to give to make a difference?
Well, you can basically give anything from $1 plus. And, you know, you basically are pre-buying the book, either in a soft cover or in a hardcover. We've actually found like a really, really nice company to print it to a very, very high quality. And again, the sort of same ethos of mine is that everything should be done to like the best possible quality, so we can pretty much guarantee you're going to get a very nice hardback. And then there's kind of more and more increments of getting DVDs and Blu-rays and signed copies and live events. And, you know, if you give enough, then we'll turn up and do a live event and do a film screening and give you a whole lot of books and DVDs as well, and some personal messages or interactions with the filmmakers. But I mean, the reason why we've pushed with such momentum with this as well is that we really do believe that supporting this campaign and getting the story out really is a vote in the opposite direction of what's been going on with the war in Ukraine. This is the film which the Guardian and the Times, they called the film which Putin's Russia doesn't want the world to see, and we were effectively banned at the Moscow International Film Festival when the film premiered there. So it really is, more than anything else, a support really for people to be seen really for who they are, and unfortunately so many people are not being seen for who they are in Russia and Ukraine and that part of the world right now, and of course in so many other parts of the world too. But we really want the social impact of this campaign to shine out, and really the narrative of the story, and hopefully what we turn into the film as well, to carry a new light and carry a new voice to be seen.
That's amazing. You should be so proud, and you're see how many people are behind you because of how much has been posted already. So it'd be amazing to see the project come to fruition and for the book to happen. So
yeah,
thank you.